It's a very beautiful morning. Thank you for tuning in, and we do hope you had a lovely weekend. It's a brand new week, brand new day. We are on the 26th day of the month of May 2025. My name is Lungilele Makakula. I'm with my co-host Mguni Shimnagmeli. Very good morning, Mguni.
How is weekend? In good spirits, Lulu. Yeah. You're saying it's a brand new week, a brand new day. It's also brand new champions for the Premier League of Eswatini.
And I was thinking social media was green. It was green yesterday.
It belongs to Shiselweni. If you think about it, this has been the year for the Shiselweni region.
Yeah.
We've seen the King's birthday. We saw development tours in the Shiselweni region, and now the league belongs to the Shiselweni region. And it's going to be a conversation, I think, for the rest of the week, not only because Kuwine Ishisela, but they've made history. For the first time, a team that is new in the league, that is relatively new because it's their second season into the Premier League, has managed to lift the hardware. We have never seen it locally. If you like. But we have seen something brand new this year, and indeed, congratulations to Nsingizini Hotspurs and our Shiselo Awumnyana Derek Shiba. And, that promise that he made yesterday, they will participate CAF, but bonuses. But they also entered the football field in style. It was just a beautiful spectacle. They had come to win the game, and indeed, that display showed they won 5-0 against Eswatini United, which has then been relegated. So congratulations once again to Nsingizini Hotspurs. We will get into that conversation at 7:30. Masbugatona Demidlalo.
Yeah, no, siyabongela kakhulu Nsingizini Hotspurs. Can't wait for that interview with parties at Lomhle Ekseni kuva ukuthi yena uthini. But on the other hand, we'll be joined, we'll rather connect with PICO, Police Information Communications Officer Pindile Vilagata. Sinikete nje sithombe sekuthi impela somvo ihambe kanjani. Sikhuluma ukuthi over the weekend amaphoyisa epagini labo la social media, particularly ka Facebook, baposta ukuthi kulahleke umfana nakhona solo diangete dinombolo bantfana labalahlekako. Police have been pleading with the public for its assistance ukuthi kutholakale lona mfana. Sativa tonke naletinye tigameko letibikiwe emaphoyiseni kuva ukuthi ingabe impela somvo ihambe kanjani with PICO this morning. And of course, we will look at international news lomhlakseni kuva ukuthi tangephandle tona tithini tindzaba kanye netindzaba talapha ekhaya. But at this moment, let's take a look at newspaper headlines. All right, taking a look at the Eswatini Observer leading story. It is, of course, Nsingizini. Nsingizini Hotspurs clinch league title. That is a picture of Nsingizini Hotspurs players celebrating with their supporters after being crowned MTN Premier League 2024-2025 champions. And in other news, police shoot, kill 4 armed suspects. On the run, suspects are linked to robberies and attempted murder. Kakoza residents struggle to identify criminals. And in other news, 240 Shembe congregants underwent baptism yesterday.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because if the leading headline on the front page is Nsingizini, let's see what is leading on the back end. Oh well, Nsingizini once again, it is their day of glory. They wallop Eswatini 5-0 to end 20-year monopoly, and Eswatini United officially relegated, while club president Derek Shiba of Nsingizini assures of CAF participation as well as bonuses for players. They get 1 million emalangeni MTN Premier League prize, which was decided on the last day. Another story, MTN, PLE locked in sponsorship talks. We see the chief executive of MTN, who has indeed assured Logo Guyendega. Polycarp Dlamini hails league competitiveness in the Premier League of Eswatini. Polycarp is the chairman, and he has hailed this season for its competitive nature, while Sikali claims 3rd Golden Boot Award.
Moving on to the Eswatini Daily News. Second Brazil-Africa dialogue on food security, fight against hunger and rural development. Eswatini strengthens global ties in fight against hunger. In other news, Eswatini loses 70 million emalangeni to soybean imports. And Eswatini Mobile donated clothes, food to SCOM residents over the weekend.
Looking at the back end of this very same publication, khona-ke kunetemidlalo indzaba lenkhulu solo ngiyo indzaba yaseNingizini. We have won 1 million emalangeni, and they are 1 million emalangeni richer as the five-star Singizini fly with league title. Resilient Shiseloni-based outfit. They rewrite history books, trashing Eswatini United 5-0 to claim their maiden Premier League title at Somhlolo National Stadium on Sunday. And then Sisonke's quality crowns Manzini Central high, while 6 English Premier League teams qualify for UEFA Champions League.
All right, and that's it for our newspaper headlines. It's 6 minutes after 6. We go for an ad break. That's where Saturdays about this is Eswatini.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.sz. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula
nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusembili.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Asiphinde sinamukele nadidi indzaba. Umhlonishwa wandvunankulu Russell Dlamini uthi live laseSwatini litawuchubeka liqinise tinhlelo tekonga imvelo kude lihambisane nemigomo yakamhlaba yetemvelo. Umhlonishwa wandvunankulu bekakhuluma ngesikhathi yetfula umbiko ngeluhambo lwakhe kulandzela ukuthi ayomelela ingwenyama emhlanganweni lemibili evenele Italy kuyo inkonzo yokubekwa kwemholi lomusha wemakatolika naseZimbabwe emhlanganweni wekuvikelwa kwetilwane tasendle.
Sitholile thu lokuthi simfusele yena molo musha sikholelwa emakatolika sithole ithuba lokumqhawula sendlulisele dilobotho leqhamuka kuyo iNgonyama eMaswati kunye lokube kuhlelo lokuthi bebanayo vele umqondo wokuthi sibe seMaswati sidaba khona besikhona masinyane nje beyikhona inkosi masinyane khona phela khona eVatican bese sesiyasuka khona eRoma sesiyake angithi sesiya eZimbabwe sihambeke naye Minister of Public Service lo abemelele induna yaka-Foreign Affairs Zimbabwe sasifika-ke khona siya ku-Transfrontier Conservation Areas Summit livela kaNgwane-ke kuyo nale Transfrontier Conservation Area igcile kakhulu ngalapha uLubombo Plateau lapho khona livela kaNgwane lase South Africa nase Mozambique libambisana ekombeni imvelo kanye kanye ngiko-ke libephakanyiswa manye-ke nalamanye amave lase Southern Africa lase awondile lenhlanganisela kwekuthi emave labo makhelwane angavalwa nje luthando kodwa akhona ukubambisana ukuthi tilwane tihlahla tikhona ukongeka kubanjiswana lawo lokunye lese bese kuyakhulunywa kulomhlangano ngibona ukuthi sikhumbule njengathi nje njengalibekangwa sikhulume kwethulile ukuthi ngasihlale njalo sathi ukuthi umsebenzi wokonga imvelo nomsebenzi wokunakelela tilwane temvelo umqoka kakhulu ngoba sekunemave lasede letilwane siya-ede netihlahla letitsite setholakala izulu kuphela.
Liphini landvenankulu imphungathu lidladla lithi live leSwatini seliyingcenye yenhlangano yemave emhlaba lahlose kucedza indlala nebuphuya eGlobal Alliance leyasungulwa live leBrazil. Liphini landvenankulu belikhuluma ngesikhathi lethula umbiko ngelihambo lwalo lelibuya eveni leBrazil lapho belimelele khona iNgonyama emhlanganweni wetekulima.
Liphini landvunankulu impungathu Kusile dladla lifike kuleleheke nengwenya kulandzela kutsi liyomelela ingwenyama nelive laseswatini emhlanganweni welive leBrazil nemave livekati le-Afrika wekubuka tindzaba tekudla iBrazil Africa Dialogue. Liphini landvunankulu-ke letfulile betindzaba kutsi live laseswatini libe seliyatibophelela selingcenye yenhlangano emave lahlose kucedza indlala nebuphuya iGlobal Alliance lokuyinhlangano leyasungulwa ngilo live leBrazil lehlose kubambisa emave kufeza ligoli lekucala nelesibili lentutfuko lekhonsako yakamhlaba.
Ngesikhathi ayiphakamisa wajoyina 100 wemave bathi sonke siyangena la sitokhona kulwa nendlala silwe nebuphuya uma uyimember manyente ama-benefits lapha nje bekakhona na-ifad lomunye kudraw kuye kubolokwe imali kuye akhona na-African Development Bank phindze futhi sekuna attaché loleka FAO eTaliyane so thine-ke siba kaNgwane sincothulisile ekhaya ku-AG was AG wayibuka wathi kude lokhu objectionable asijoyinele alliance vele president wangicela ngalelanga as-welcome namake njanja naye wangicela ukuthi ucela sijoyine kukhulu esitakuthola kule Global Alliance nangembala-ke sijoyinile kwaba ngumcimbi lomfisha kodwa lomnanzi lomuhle wajabula kakhulu Madam Lula wathi ucela ukuthi lama-ties singaphindi sehlukane sente i-follow up sitokubona ukuthi silive singatfolane.
Indvuna yetiko letekulima umhlonishwa Mandla Jawuka lebekayingcenya lomhlangano uthi lokunye lababuya nako eveni ukuthi live laseswatini kumele licinise tinhlelweni ide kukweleka emandi.
Le ndzaba vele yokuvuna emandi ibe mcoka kakhulu basikhombise indlela letinhle lesingathi thine besithi sinendzawo leyomile nasikhuluma le ndansi bolibonjeni nakubola Vumisa kodwa bona banenzawo lecishe yome i-Bodarisha Desert nalo mhlabathi wakhona uyawubona kodwa bawugucule uyesabeka ngendlela yokulima bese ke kuba kunakunaka likakhulu balimi labancane emakhaya njengoba DPM sashito banema programs amahle lapho kuphindwe babuyela la commercial so le agri-food system yabo ibalanced ibuka umlimi lomncane ibuka umlimi losemkhathini ibuka umlimi lomkhulu lecishe lathi kuyimodel lesisebenta ngayo lofanele i-upscale
liphindla ndifuna kulivetile nekuthi litiko letekulima libambisene nelitiko letangaphandle lidlalana nalamanye emave litawusebenzisana nelive leBrazil kubukiswane kuthi kungabanjiswana ngakuphi kude live nalo litfutfuke kutekulima nasekukhiciteni kudla lokwanele lobikako nguSamkelsiwe Khoza eNgwenya.
Labanemakhono bangatiphilisa ngawo nanoma ematfuba emsebenzi amancane lide nje nabatimisela ngemakhono abo lawa ngemave alabanye bebachutselana ngaphansi kwemchutselwano wemakwaya lamakhulu lobanjwe esibayeni Lodge ngelisonto.
Bekukadze koshubile tichutselana tikopana ngaphansi komchutselwano wemakwaya lamakhulu lapho khona bekuchutselene emacembu langaba 10 njengoba bewasihlanu ngaphansi kwe large category kanjalo ke asihlanu naku standard category bewakhona ke nema soloist. Sikhulumiseneke nalabanye le bebakadze bachutselana lebathi lo mchutselwano bewumedima impela.
Baphileka cause sibabonile labanye bafikile emaveni bothandozwane nje. Yes sibabonile kuyaphileka. Competition wise it's been very hectic cause labanye ba amile vele but nathi nje we were still in the game. I think that's all right. Yes, we're still in the game.
No, competition is tough from now. Tough competition. Now was it yabuya la ngekhathi and nje athi ke sekubonakala khona ukuthi kwentekalani kepha nje no tough ukuthi umakhaya atilungiselele. Yabona zingaleta amakhaya amakhulu mnethu liyakhula njalo ngeminyaka and this time around ngiva ngathi sekusettle because nalama technicalities lesikhona nowadays.
So far right sham si managele ukuthi sihlabele according to a practice so ngisho ukuthi sitawubona ukuthi khamba njani kodwa nje singasho side like ethu khambe kahle.
Lo mchutselwano wetemakwaya lamakhulu ke bowungenelwe nangilosabambe kuba indvuna yetemidlalo temasiko netindzaba tensha umhlonishwa Phila Buthelezi lekathi lakubonile kuhle impela njengoba kuyasho ukuthi eMaswati elikhono kutekuhlabela analo futhi ke nakatimisela angaphila nangemakhono awo.
Likhono liya ngekukhula laba kubo standard category uyabona lokuthi sebaminyetelekile ungathi ngabe sebakalaji labakalaji vele ungathi ngabe sebacula ngaphandle kwale live lokuyinto lenkulu lesiyidrumisako silive ngoba utawukhumbula ukuthi ngona mdlalo lophose uletha indondo ekhaya siyayingenela emchuthelwaneni eminingi kodwa lo wechoral ngona lovama ukusilethela imendlela nasabuyile amaqembu so kuyinto kodwa nje lenkulu kubona namaswata athenda ngale nombolo la athenda ngato.
Nasahlanganisa lo mbiko bekusachubeka ke kuchuthelwana kuto temakwaya lamakhulu kusangatholakala ukuthi ingabe ngubani lohambe empili. Lobika ngugiyani Msibingi na Fortune Ndlangamandla esibayeni Lodge kuMathapha.
Umholi welibandla le-Christian Revival Center umfundisi Dennis Shongwe uthi uma emabandla abambisene umhlaba ungakhona ukuncoba ludlame nokuhlukubetana ngetebulili. Umfundisi Shongwe bekakhuluma ngesikhathi lelibandla lephetha ekhomfa yamalanga lasihlanu lapho bazalwane balelibandla
ngetfetimo letahlukene lokuhlukubetana ngetebulili neludlame nekwanza kwetifo letingatsatselwana Revival Center lecinisile kunakeni umuntu emphefumulweni live nemhlaba kungabona kwehla kwelidlame nekuhlukubetana ngetebulili.
Besihlangeneke ngaphansi kwesiqubulo lesikhulu lesisho ukuthi kukhula komuntu athi made afike ebudodzaneni lophelele. which speaks of immaturity, grow to maturity as umntwana kaNkulunkulu. Lokhu siqubulo lesikhulu ke ngoma uma umzalwane afike ku maturity noma ahlangane netimo letibonakala ukuthi itimo letilukhuni kodwa iresponse yakhe lekathi indlela responda ngayo uresponda njengemntwana kaNkulunkulu. Lokho ke kuyasijabulisa kakhulu ngoma sitawubona kwehlana nalizinga la kuphela kubulalana kwebantu ngome tinkinga abantu bahlala banato kodwa indlela lo responda ngayo uma usohlangana leto inkinga leto njengemntwana kaNkulunkulu kufanele kuthi uvete eKristu njengoba umntwana kaNkulunkulu.
Bazalwane-ke lebe bayincinya leti nkonzo bathi labahamba nake emakhaya ukuthi kumele bahlale njalo basime kulomdzala wetinsuku kude bakhone kumelana nato tonke timo.
We are being moved from the chicken stage and kuthiwa asimphathe tinsiba telikhozi kuthiwa lukhozi uma ludibana netimo alukhali ngalesimo but lukhozi always face the challenges.
Lokube mcoka kimi isachubeka le konfa sikhathi lesibe naso itolo semthandazo wethu sonke siba se Christian Revival lebe kuyinto lengakavami ukuthi ngalomgcibelo sithathe sizilo sonke.
As much as we are preaching the word of God as usakhule enkosini, you must have the skill. Wabekisa ke relevant examples ukuthi awudingeke nje ube nguwemfana nje and wafaka ke lenzaba yalama values because we are the next generation, the generation letawusaba uNkulunkulu.
Leti nkonzo tihlanganise emagatsha onke la imfica lelibandla tibanjwa njalo ngeminyaka lapho khona abazalwane ngetihloko letahlukene bathi sonzeta kulomdzala wetinsuku. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza kalobamba.
eMaswati lango 175 amukele bulunga bekuba abazalwane benkolo eManazaretha eBaptist Nazareth Church lokulibandla lakaShembe base bayabhabhatiswa bemukela sibusiso. Lokhu kwendeke ngelisonto enkonzweni yemgidi lapho kudzele khona sibukeli.
Lesuku lemgidla wonke lelichubeke ngelisonto limenyetelwe ngumholi waleli bandla lakaShembe lokungulongcwele unyazo lwezulu enkozweni elisabatha ngemgcibelo. Umshumayeli waleli bandla lakaShembe Sakhile Dluhla uchaza kabanti ngemgidi.
Thina esiqoke kanjena sininjobo. Imgidi ihlukene kathathu. Khona injobo, kukhona iskoshi, kukhona ujamengweni omama. Kukhona amakhosazana intaba yepheza. Sonke sigida ngokuhlukana uma suke sigida. Umgidi ke ingxenye enkulu yomthandazo sithandaza ngayo uNkulunkulu. Sisuke sicela uNkulunkulu sigidela nokhokho bethu.
Esikhathi iskoshi ematshitshi bomake bobabe benteleti bukwako bazonela abang-175 bahambile bayobhajatiswa. Kanti labanye babo labang-65 bebekaze batihlambulula. Lo lekelele umfundisi nakubhabhatiswa kuleli bandla lakaShembe inhlala ngisuthi Sifiso Ntombela ichaza kabanti.
Inhlanhla ngoba thina sisebenza noShembe unyazi lwezulu akekho noyedwa oba nenkinga emfuleni noma othiwa usali udliwe inyoka emfuleni sonke sibuya nje siphelele. Baphelele ke manje bangena ethempelini njengoba bengena ethempelini umfundisi usezobapha isibusiso manje isokuthi sebebhabhatisiwe sebengamaNazaretha. Makade kuthiwa umuntu laba aba-175 ila abaqala abasuke bekhetha inkosi bethi bona sebeyinikele ebandleni lamaNazaretha sebengamaNazaretha bese ukuthi la abaphindayo ila abasuke begezela abantu bakubo okade isangoma noma okade inyanga noma okade ithandazela abantu ikona lokho sebekwenza la sebezohlambululela abantu bakubo.
Leti nkonzo taleli bandla titawuchubeka amaviki lamathathu kuleli. Bikako Fortune Dlangamandla ngisesabelweni eBethani.
Emaphoyisa kulempelasonto wadubule abulala abomsolwa labang-4 labomsolwa labane bebakathe bafunelwa emacala lahlukene lafaya ekhathi ekubamba inkunzi bahlomile. Umxhumanisi wamaphoyisa nesive Senior Superintendent Phindile Velakati uyivumile lenzaba yokuthi emaphoyisa alingalelwe ngulabomsolwa.
Labo msolwa labane bashona ngemva kwekudubulwa ngamaphoyisa etigamekweni letimbili letehlukene endzaweni yasezulwini. Mathathu awo nawo bekasolafuna ngamaphoyisa wafunele emacala ekwebahlomile kanye nekutama kubulala. Onke lamadvodza lawo endzawo yakakhoza lokungijabulani Bhembe loneminyaka lengu-50 budzala, Nhlanhla Steenkamp loneminyaka lengu-48 budzala, kanye naMbongiseni Bhembe loneminyaka lengu-43 budzala. Bonke bendzawo yakakhoza nathi ngi-26 enyangeni lephelile. Emaphoyisa acela kubanjiswa ekutfoleni labomsolwa labatsatfu. Sinye zetihlobo talabomsolwa labangu-3 labadubule bashona lesicele kungavetwa sithe emaphoyisa bekungakamela abulale labomsolwa.
Jabulani Bhembe bacala ngaye bavele bamshaya inhloko, babuyela kulo munye bamshaya inhloko, babuyela kulo wesi-3 bamshaya inhloko, base bayajika bakhanza ukuthi le bhosi ayikafi, baphindze bayiphinza. Driver uphilile nguye lophila kukhona. Sengukuthi angathi ukuthi bebasuka kuphi ezulwini, shothi la bafike bakrepha khona. Baqoshana nemaphoyisa asezulwini, shothi bahluleke amaphoyisa asezulwini, asashayela amaphoyisa asesigodlweni. Kube ngiyoke amaphoyisa asesigodlweni, shothi la bese endala la kwendile. La qhamuke ngathiwa ma-quantum. Agcwele. Shothi ke khona la highway kuthi ngakupha sana.
Umchumanisi wamaphoyisa kanye nesive senior superintendent Phindile Vilakazi uchaza kabanti ngaletigameko lethambene emphefumulo lengu-4.
Noko ngenhlahla lembi nasesiwatfolile kwatfolakala ukuthi awuvele bakhalisa inhlavu abavumi kuthatha ama-orders libekashiwa amaphoyisa. Bagcina-ke kulowo mzuzu naloko kudubulana basilimalela bobathathu. Emacala-ke laba bafunelwa wona kakhulu kulamalanga bekuma-robbery langu-8. Kani-ke bebavele banemacala lebekachubeka enkantolo lasihlanu lebe bangasawa-athendi etinkantolo lawo macala. Kube inhlahla lembi-ke lokho ukuthi bagcine sebalimala bangasakhoni-ke uphendvula kulobo bucala. Laba nje lababili kulaba labashile emhlabeni kulalabathathu batfolakele netibhamu letimbili ema-pistol. Lenye beyinetinhlavu letimbili ekhatsi, lenye beyinetinhlavu letingu-9 ekhatsi, kanye naleyo mphahla yalapho bebabiya kuyoganga khona laba athekha khona umvu wesifazane. Leto timphahla nato titfolakele letibufakazi kokuthi vele laba bakhanzakale babuya kukoganga bacedza kuganga. Kanti ngakulokunye khona ezulwini kunendvodzana khona lehlasele yagcekeza nayo beyinemacala lebekafunwa kakhulu kati etindzaweni etikhona lapha ezulwini la kuhlala khona sive lebesolo ifunelwa lawo macala. Kube sekuyavakala ukuthi seyiphindze ihlasele nangembala-ke amaphoyisa nakagijima athi naku akayitfole uyalahla phasi leto timphahla yadla embunzini. Nasitama-ke kummisa naye kugcina alimala vele sikhuluma nje ube senaye uyashiya.
Umchumanisi wamaphoyisa kanye nesifu ucizelele ukuthi akusinhloso yemaphoyisa ukuthi adubula abulale bomsolwa kodwa inhloso lenkulu emaphoyisa kubopha bomsolwa ukuthi bakhona ukutiphendvulela emacaleni lasuke basolela bona. Ngemsombuluko ekuseni kubheke ukuthi tihlobo talabomsolwa labatsatfu bavele enhlokohhovisi emaphoyisa kaManzini bayochazelwa kabanti ngekushona kwaletihlobo tabo. Lobikako Fortune Dlangamandla uNagiyane Msibi Sembabane.
Zamakuhle Mkhwanazi wasengena amadvolo ngaphansi kwenkundla yasesibiki sewakhe i-app lekhonako kwati ukuthi kunangakhiwa amakhaya engena amadvolo. Le app iphindze ikhone kubona likhaya lelakhiwa ngalokungekho emthethweni kule ndzawo.
I-motivation ngayithola kakhulu ngesikhathi ngisesibayeni kukhuluma i-Princess Khanyiso lo asese Minister of ICT. Waveta ukuthi le miphakathini le technology ayingene khona ihlukane kayi-2 ikhona la sitakala khona sive semango phindze khona la ukuthi indlunkulu ikhona access ayona kuphela ngaqala la sitakala khona sonke sive nje semango kune local market kule app bese kuba naleli site the private view ke lo ngibitwa private view lekhona ku accesswa indlunkulu kuphela labo labakhethelekile ke lapho ngilakuvela khona onke lamakhaya la khona emangweni yakhona kubona inhloko yelikhaya yakhona kubona ukuthi okay lekhaya bobanda abahlala khona bahlobane kanjani phindze lokhona ukubona lapho uyabona ukuthi likhaya likuphi kumap yenginamatolo because umphakathi esikiyo nginamatolo yakhona kubona ukuthi okay lekhaya latholakala khona nendzawo ngoba kunema-challenges kwenza ukuthi abantu bayabanga imincele sekusele abantwana bodwa amakhelwane so ufuna kulula trata ufake kulelinye elikhaya le app yakhona ngekuthi ikhone lokumaka kwathi ukuthi likhaya ligcina kuphi.
Sikhulu sasengenamatolo umntwana Nkosi Lodlakama sithi siyadichenya ngale app njengoba seyinte umsebenzi wabamalula kulokuningi kude ukuthi kwatiwe ukuthi kunabani lokuphi kanjalo-ke nekugatsa emakhaya langathuke avela nje kodwa angadiwa endlunkulu.
Uma ngibuka la cingweni ngibuka umuti indvodza yakhile inetindlu letingakhi ngikubone la kulesithombeni ngiphindze-ke sengiyati nalokuthi le miti lesinayo la mangweni ngoba sekuhambe cishe wonke le mango urekhodile ngiyawati ukuthi lapha sinemiti lemingakhi.
Leli jaha-ke lilakhele app lona-ke lithi kusifiso salo ukuthi lisebenzisane nahulumende waseswatini njengoba lifisile ukuthi nakuletinye tifundza eveni nato tadinga kusebenta kwalo kute-ke lo msebenzi watiwe eveni lonke. Liveke laseswatini liyachubeka nokuthi libe kulawo lathuthukile njengoba tebuchwephesha tihambiswa embili eveni ngakho-ke umsebenzi lo njengalo usho wona ukuthi kulokuningi kancane kancane live liyangena kuwo-ke lawo lese athuthukile ngato tebuchwephesha. Lobika-ko nguGiyani Msibi ngisengenamadolo.
Umndeni wakaNxumalo esigodini saseSiguduma ngaphansi komphakathi wasondiyaneni umehlwana kulandzela kwebiwa kwemfana loyinfombatana lekuthiwa wathathwa indvodza lengatiwa. Gogo wemfana uthi wathathwa indvodza lengatiwa yabaleka naye.
Libito lemntfwana lolahlekile ngitifezile Gwebu ngikusho kwemndeni wakhe langelayitolo 24 May bekumele kugujwe lisuku lwakhe lekutalwa lapha behlanganisa iminyaka leyimfica. Lo mntfwana bentalibanga laka grade 3 eJericho Primary School. Gogo wemntfwana Thembi Nxumalo uthi kwakungilesine emini nakathuma abatukulu bakhe labatsatfu esitolo. Gogo uthi basahamba labatukulu bahlangana nebantwana besikolo bedama kubajikisa njengoba beseke kubonakala indvodza itama kweba lomnye umntfwana kulendzawo kodwa bachubeka baya esitolo.
Labantu besikolo ngengcondo lengazange kimi seyibe inzala kubo babalalela lokuthi bayachubeka mabefika la ekhaya abantu besikolo bayangena lababuye secondary bathi yegogo bantwana sihlangane nabo letulu manje lapha etulu lapha kunenkinga yendoda lebonakele isithine sesiyiphunyulisele omunye umntwana abesambambile lo mntwana nembala ke mntwanami asukuma unina ngaleso sikhathi ashikitele ahamba yayikhona le laba ngalomgwaco athi nje makata ufika lelidundu lelikona lalenzatshana lapha emgwaqweni eve umntwana sakhala ahlaba inyanza leyo uthi hey nanga umntwana bangemuka nanga umntwana unina wambona noma gijima naye mane kwakukudzanyana ngekuqhelelana uthi usembili futhi umuntu wesifazane lendzawo iyenyuka bagijima hawu washobela ehlathini ke mntwanami nemntwana bathi befika labefika ko labevele nyanza leyo bathola kwekuthi so ushobele naye bamuva nabo akhala lo mntwana mabamuva akhala lo mntwana wakhala sikhashanyana lesincane wasuyabinza du toti lamhla mntwanami bangena abantu bafolokohlela lapha kwenile ke mntwanami lapha kubambe tingagane kubambe nakwaZulu netihlahla nje akungeneki bathi nabaphakathi nalelihlathi batfola lijezi labe kuyaligcokile lo mntwana bashayeke vele ethi hayi sibalekile esigebengu kusho ukuthi sishone endasi babhunye kusho sibete la ndasi bafohle bete endasi kanti kusho siyabephicisa umkhondo nase ubuka.
Buchopho bemphakathi wase-Ondiyaneni Muzi Nxumalo bukuthese kwesibili kwejiwa umntwana kulendzawo njengoba ukhona lo munyelo wejiwa amadvodza lamabili lebekahlome ngesibhamu ngeminyaka wa-2014 lochumanisa amaphoyisa nesive ephindile velakati ukuthi amaphoyisa achubeka neliphenyo kulesigameko. Lobika-ko ngithando kuhle Mdluli, Ondiyaneni.
Kanti kutemidlalo liqembu leNsingizini Hotspurs sengilobo champagne benzebe ye-MTN Premier League yeminyaka wa 2024-2025 kulandzela kushaya liqembu leSwatini United ngemagoli lasihlanu ecanzeni.
Liqembu leNsingizini Hotspurs leniminyaka lemithathu lidlala ngaphasi kwenzebe ye-MTN Premier League elite emdlalweni walo nelicembu leSwatini United lidzinga kunqoba lomdlalo noma-ke iRoyal Leopard ikhale phasi ku-Green Mamba emavuso. Yedamile kuhlasela esigabeni sekuqala kodwa-ke yangalithola iligoli kwayiwa ekhefini kulicanza ecanzeni. Esigabeni sesibili buye ngamandla eNsingizini lapho khona litholile emagoli lasihlanu lashaywa ngu-Ayanda Kadlela kwathi lamabili lashaya nguSambulo Simelane lelinye lashaya nguKigen Kakhumbu kwathi lekugcina lashaya nguVuselelo Mthethwa. Umphathi walo liqembu leNsingizini Hotspurs Derek Shiba ngemuva kokuphakamisa lenzebe ubeke kanjena.
You've seen us, we've gone in and employed a sporting director and a coach. We've already invested on a new coach which will be announced in the next 22 hours.
Silesumcondziso wetemidlalo sporting director kutosinika indlela lekahle yokudlala futhi masinyane nje sitawetfulana nesiqeshi lomusha emalangeni lamabili latako. Okuhlupha kakhulu emacembu lamanyenti kuleli ukuthi akholelwa kakhulu etintfweni etinyenti tebumnyama kanti lokho akuyisithi ndzawo ibhola.
Abadlali lababili bayeNsingizini Hotspurs lokunkwakhe ethwala kanye naNeliswa Dlamini nabo bavete injabulo yabo ngekuphakamisa yona lenzebe. Iqembu leNsingizini Hotspurs lithole imali le-1 million emalangeni ngekuphakamisa lenzebe kanti seliyomelela live enzebeni ye-CAF Champions League yeminyaka 2025-2026. Liqembu lemadlenya kanye neSwatini bona badliwe inkemba yekwehlela ka-First Division. Lobikako nguLinda Dlamini analeleti imhlanga enkundleni yesive kaSomhlolo.
Zamatha bethelo sebendela inhlangano lengamele inhlangano temidlalo kuleli uthole umhlomelo wesisebendile sisebende iminyaka lelishumi enhlanganweni ye-African Union Sports Council Region 5. Tabethe uthole umhlomelo nalabanye labane lababuya kumave lahlukahlukene esifundazweni sasendasini nelive kade le-Afrika. Udumiswe ngekudlala inzima lenkulu ngesikhathi lakuleli libambe imidlalo yama-Youth Games ngeminyaka wa 2010 waphinze badlala inzima lenkulu ekubambeni umcimbi wemihlomelo ye-Rasa ngeminyaka wa 2023 lobobanjelwe kuleli.
Kuba ukuthi nje umuntu endlulise kubonga kakhulu kumaSwatini onke. I-recognition ngiyitholile itolo ebusuku lapha eHarare lokuyi-10-year service award yaka-African Union Sports Council Region 5. Akusiyo-ke i-recognition engiyithatha ngokuthi i-recognition yazamathabethe, kepha nje i-recognition engiyithatha-ke ngokuthi i-recognition yeMaSwatini onke. Ngithanda nje ukudlulisa lokubonga kakhulu efeni ukuthi lingethembe lokuthi ngilimelele kuyo yona le nhlangano yaka-Region 5 kuleli tigaba lethu letihlukahlukene over the past years. Umuntu-ke akaphinde futhi endlulise nje ukukhuthata eMaSwatini onke latinikelako and latikhandlako emsebenzini wawo etigabeni letihlukahlukene kuwona ama-structures nakhona etemidlalo ku-region naku-continental level. Sidlulisa nje lokho kubonga kakhulu lokho naloko kukhuthaza lokho.
Iqembu le-Rangers livikele inkemba emdlalweni walo wekugcina we-MTN Premier League lapho lincobe iMonini Pirates ngamagoli lamabili-1. Lomdlalo bodlalelwa eKings Sobhuza Stadium enhlangano.
Umdlalo uyekhefini amaqembu abambene ngeligoli linye. Kwathi esigamini sesibili iqembu le-Rangers lashaya igoli lesibili lelibele kuncoba umdlalo. Umqeqeshi weqembu le-Rangers Mthunzi Giniza uthi noma abadlali sebatawuthola lithuba lekuphumula kodwa i-technical team ngeke ibade ebuthongo njengoba imehlo savela sekuhlele embiseni kahle lelicembu ukuthi ilungele isizini ledako.
Savika inkemba lebe kungasiso isifiso sethu silicembu ukuthi bese ngayivika i-relegation bekumele sifightele for something else but ke ibhola kusibeke kulezi zinga lapho khona bese silwela khona inkemba but uyohamba siyolungisa our playoff style, our transitions tactically and technically konke sihamba siyokulungisa for next season asicala i-pre-season ukuze ukuthi kungasiphinzi lokho lesikubonile kule season. Satongena ku recruitment spree la khona satohamba siyodingela ukuthi singabhifa ngabo bani kuma-department lathile labeshoda ngawo ezibobona ukuthi isquad sethu bese-16 nasesiphela after some certain suspensions of some certain players due to indiscipline. So-ke satohamba-ke siyotingela.
Umqeqeshi welicembu leMonini Pirates Caleb Ngwenya uphawula ngemidlalo wabo wekugcina kule season.
Can tell the players they were off season already. Based on we were not under pressure for relegation. We were not again competing for the top 4. We were pulled out. So the mindset in complacent take its toll on players. Well, as you know that I joined the team in the middle of the season, but we'll sit down and with management and review what is there, what is it that we need, so we can reinforce for next season. But management will decide after my report on everything.
Isizini ye-M10 Premier League iphetha licembu leMonini Pirates liku-position 5 nga-41 points, kanti licembu le-Rangers liku-position 12 nga-22 points. Kude imidlalo, Thando Kuhle Mdluli, King Sopuza Stadium.
Sariphetha ngaleto temidlalo nasibuya emakethe sibuka i-weekend police report.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome to Eswatini Lifestyle. This is your ultimate guide to the entertainment, to the lifestyle and the culture of Eswatini.
Eswatini Lifestyle. Eswatini Lifestyle.
Eswatini Lifestyle.
From 6:30 to 7 p.m. On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati. The beats are louder, the vibes are bigger, and the stars are shining brighter. This is The Beatdown, your ultimate music and entertainment fix. With me every Saturday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Eswatini Television, Sibuko Semaswati.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba-researche, bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna senze ukukhicita lokusembili.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is the Monday edition of Kusile. First show, we continue with our program, taking a look at the Secretary General, where he spoke by telephone with His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. The Secretary General extended his heartfelt congratulations to His Holiness and expressed his commitment to build on the long legacy of cooperation between the United Nations and the Holy See to advance human dignity, human rights, peace and justice in the world. The Secretary General extended a standing invitation to His Holiness to visit the United Nations. He looks forward to meeting with His Holiness to discuss joint efforts to promote common values in our troubled world.
All right, good afternoon. Happy Friday, everyone. First off, I have a readout of a phone call that the Secretary General made earlier this morning with His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. The Secretary General spoke by telephone with His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. The Secretary General extended his heartfelt congratulations to His Holiness and expressed his commitment to build on the long legacy of cooperation between the United Nations and the Holy See to advance human dignity, human rights, peace, and justice in the world. The Secretary General extended a standing invitation to His Holiness to visit the United Nations. He looks forward to meeting with His Holiness to discuss joint efforts to promote common values in our troubled world. And the Secretary General, in a press encounter this morning, said that after nearly 80 days in which aid to Gaza had been blocked, a trickle of aid has finally crossed over. In recent days, almost 400 trucks were cleared for entry to Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing. But supplies from only 115 trucks have been able to be collected, he said, and nothing has reached the besieged north. The Secretary General said that all the aid authorized until now amounts to a teaspoon of aid when a flood of assistance is required. Mr. Guterres pointed to the need for safety and security mitigation measures to be in place for our convoys. Our staff's lives are at risk if we continue to be prevented from distributing food parcels and wheat flour directly to the people in desperate need, he warned. At the same time, he said that 80% of Gaza, or 4/5 of the territory, has been either designated an Israeli militarized zone or an area where people have been ordered to leave. The Secretary General reiterated that the United Nations will not take part in any scheme that fails to respect international law and the humanitarian principles of humanity, impartiality, independence, and neutrality. His full remarks are online. Regarding our operations in Gaza, yesterday we moved another batch of around 100 full truckloads to Kerem Shalom and picked up about 35 from the Palestinian side of the crossing to bring them closer to where people need them in Gaza. As a reminder, supplies we collect usually reach the crossing a day or two earlier because of the time-consuming procedures at Kerem Shalom. And the truckload sizes don't exactly match. Inside Gaza, our team stack an extra layer of pallets on each truck to make the most of the space. Yesterday's deliveries included more flour, nutrition items, and medical supplies. Today, the World Food Programme said that 15 truckloads of critical food supplies were looted last night on their way to bakeries. WFP said that hunger, deprivation, and anxiety over whether food aid is coming in, are all contributing to rising insecurity. WFP appealed for support from Israeli authorities to get far greater volumes of assistance into Gaza, faster, more consistently, and transported along safer routes, as done during the ceasefire. They stressed that the number of bakeries and sites where Gaza's population can access food must not be limited. Even with all the challenges, our team on the ground say that the little aid that's getting through is already reaching people in need. A handful of bakeries managed to fire up their ovens yesterday using flour and fuel we provided, and our partners already picked up the bread for direct distribution. And in the south, a field hospital has received a much-needed batch of medical supplies this week. The World Health Organization warned yesterday that the intensification of hostilities has brought Gaza's already weakened health system to a breaking point. This follows yesterday's attack on Al-Awda Hospital in North Gaza, where patient triage tents, including one provided by WHO, caught fire, burning all medical supplies in the warehouse and destroying vehicles in the basement. WHO's attempt to reach the hospital yesterday was impeded, and as of earlier today, sources at the hospital tell us that the fire had not been fully extinguished. Over the past week alone, 4 major hospitals have had to suspend medical services because of hostilities, attacks, or displacement orders in their areas. That's Kamal Adwan, Indonesia, Hamad, and European Gaza hospitals. WHO tells us that 4% of nearly 700 attacks on healthcare in Gaza since October 2023 were recorded over the past week alone. That's 28 attacks, or 4 times the average number of attacks per day. At least 94% of the hospitals in Gaza are now damaged or destroyed, and half of them are no longer operational. Turning to the West Bank, OCHA reports that continued high levels of settler violence are having an alarming impact on Palestinians. Just yesterday, near Ramallah, an entire Bedouin community of more than 20 Palestinian households started dismantling their homes to move somewhere safer. That's about 60 adults and 60 children from Magayer Adair. And this comes after Israeli settlers set up an outpost less than 50 meters away on Sunday. Since then, attacks have escalated. Over the past week, settlers have stormed the community, threatened residents, broken into animal shelters, and set fires. And in the town of Brukin, in the Salfit area, nearly 150 masked settlers torched Palestinian vehicles yesterday. 8 residents were injured, most of them sustained burns, while trying to put out the fires. Between 13th and 19th of May, OCHA recorded at least 28 settler attacks that resulted in casualties, property damage, or both. In Chad, the Emergency Relief Coordinator, Tom Fletcher, yesterday allocated $2.5 million from the UN Central Emergency Response Fund to urgently respond to the massive influx of refugees and returnees in the east of the country from Sudan. This brings SURF's total allocation to Chad this year to $16 million. Since April, more than 55,000 Sudanese refugees and 39,000 Chadian returnees have arrived in Chad's eastern provinces, mainly to Wadi Fira and Enedi East. The majority are women and children, and many are traumatized by the violence they experienced and witnessed. Many unaccompanied children, pregnant women, and older people are also among the refugees and returnees. This new SURF funding will help us and our partners scale up operations and provide life-saving assistance to those who have just arrived in Chad, as well as to continue supporting refugees and host communities in eastern Chad impacted by the crisis in neighboring Sudan. Turning to South Sudan, today Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, warned of a further deterioration in the human rights situation in South Sudan following a sharp increase in hostilities, arbitrary arrests, and hate speech in the country since February. Mr. Turk urged all parties to uphold the 2018 peace agreement, ensure protection of civilians and civilian objects, and facilitate humanitarian access in line with their obligations under international law. He also urged the authorities to grant the UN mission in South Sudan access to National Security Service detention sites to assess the welfare of the detainees held there. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, our colleagues at the World Food Programme warned today that the sheer scale of people displaced from their homes due to escalating conflict is pushing food insecurity to crisis proportions and deepening an already strained humanitarian response. In the eastern provinces of DRC, the number of people facing acute food insecurity, or IPC Phase 3 and above, has risen from 6.6 million to 7.9 million. Some 2.3 million of these people are in IPC Phase 4. WFP is scaling up its efforts to ensure that aid reaches displaced communities, but assistance is not keeping pace with the growing needs. Our colleagues have reached 1.1 million people in the eastern provinces of DRC with food and cash assistance between January and March of this year. That assistance included daily school meals and take-home rations given to 115,000 school children, treatment and nutrition supplements delivered to 340,000 children, and pregnant or breastfeeding women and girls, as well as livelihood support programs for about 14,000 people. WFP urgently requires $433 million to sustain emergency operations in the DRC through October 2025. Without immediate support, millions risk being cut off from life-saving assistance, further deepening the humanitarian crisis, both at the country and regional level. The UN Refugee Agency today said that more than 25,000 people have been newly displaced in Mozambique in a matter of weeks. They join close to 1.3 million people who have been uprooted by the armed conflict, back-to-back cyclones, and drought. The UN Refugee Agency pointed out that attacks by non-state armed groups on civilians and infrastructure continue in Cabo Delgado province, forcing people to flee and disrupting efforts towards solutions and development. UNHCR added that the renewed intensity of the conflict is also impacting areas that were previously considered relatively stable, with hostilities now spilling over into new provinces. With critical funding running out, UNHCR, like other humanitarian organizations, is raising the alarm and said that its ability to protect and assist those in urgent need is being pushed to the limit. So far this year, the UN Refugee Agency said that it has only received 32% of the required $42.7 million. Turning to Myanmar, the UN Refugee Agency is gravely concerned about reports of 2 boat tragedies off the coast of Myanmar earlier this month, with estimates that 427 Rohingya perished at sea. This would be the deadliest tragedy at sea involving Rohingya refugees attempting to find safety this year. With the annual monsoon season having already arrived in the region, these boats were traveling at a particularly dangerous time, reflecting the desperation of those making such journeys. And some sobering statistics: nearly 1 out of 5 people attempting perilous sea movements in this region have been reported as dead or missing so far this year, making the Andaman Sea and the Bay of Bengal waters among the deadliest in the world. UNHCR calls on authorities in the region to take urgent action to prevent future tragedies. The agency also calls on the international community to stand in solidarity with the countries in the region that have been hosting Rohingya refugees. UNHCR requires $383 million this year to stabilize the lives of refugees and their host communities across Bangladesh, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and those displaced inside Myanmar. So far, only 30% of this amount has been received. From Colombia, our colleagues in the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tell us that the number of people impacted by non-state armed group fighting continues to increase. In the first quarter of this year, 750,000 people have already been affected. This is 4 times more than in the same period last year. Our humanitarian colleagues note that as of the 15th of May, more than 1 million people have been newly impacted by conflict, violence, mobility restrictions, and natural disasters across the country. We, along with our partners, remain on the ground and continue their work despite the serious funding crisis. In February this year, we allocated $3.8 million from the UN Central Emergency Response Fund to support the response to the crises in the Catatumbo region. The Colombia Humanitarian Fund allocated $3.5 million to local organizations to support the emergency response across the country. The 2025 Humanitarian Response Plan, which seeks $342 million to help 2 million people, is only 14% funded, with nearly $49 million received. With this amount, the humanitarian community was able to respond to less than a third of emergencies related to mass forced displacement, confinement, and climate-related disasters. Our colleagues estimate that funding shortfalls may leave 1.4 million people without assistance this year. The resident and humanitarian coordinator in Colombia, Maria Villar Forner, said earlier today at a member state briefing in Geneva that it is the time for the international community and donors to step up their support for Colombia.
All right, so it's a minute after 7. We'll quickly go for an ad break and come back with International News Day with us.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba-researche, bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusembili.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at international news. Venezuelans head to the polls in parliamentary and gubernatorial elections on Sunday, months after President Nicolas Maduro claimed a third term in an election marred by violence and fraud allegations.
The pollsters predicting low voter turnout are so far being proved right, with more state security than voters at some polling stations.
The turnout is very low. I really thought there would be a bigger crowd. I even came with my wife and told her, we're going to be out late. But it's strange, this place is empty.
The vote is taking place against a backdrop of a heightened government crackdown. Much of the opposition has boycotted the vote, not wanting to give the government legitimacy. But others argued for participation.
Venezuela today deals with frustration, anger and fear. But that's why numerous leaders and citizens decided to take a step forward and use voting as a tool to fight, as a tool of resistance, but above all as a tool of expression to recover spaces that are today governed by the negligence and ineptitude of those who govern us from Miraflores.
In the lead-up to the election, dozens were detained for allegedly plotting to interfere with the vote.
We did it. We managed to hold the elections without incidents, and we managed to defeat the violence that terrorists had prepared for the country. We defeated the terrorists again, the violent ones, the fascists.
Opposition figures who urged voters to stay away are likely to view Sunday's turnout as their own victory of sorts.
It's election day in Venezuela. Voters have been summoned to choose lawmakers, governors and other elected officials on Sunday, but opposition has asked voters to boycott the polls. The main opposition, led by Maria Corina Machado, an engineer and former MP, has urged Venezuelans not to legitimize what they see as yet another sham election by voting.
People in Venezuela vote in parliamentary elections as well as for governors and other regional offices amid despair and distrust. This housekeeper in Caracas, the capital, says people are tired of the hypocrisy of their leaders.
I do not believe in this dirty politics, let's put it this way. This is dirty politics. Why? Because they deceive people.
The elections take place on Sunday after Friday's arrest of the opposition figure Juan Pablo Guanipa for allegedly leading a terrorist plot. He is a close ally of the opposition's most recognizable figure, Maria Corina Machado, who remains in hiding to avoid arrest. Most other leaders are in exile or prison due to the government's repressive measures unleashed after the Venezuelan presidential election in July last year.
Dear brothers and sisters, if you are watching this video, it's because I have been arrested, kidnapped by Nicolas Maduro's dictatorship. This has been a difficult and complex struggle because we are facing an authoritarian regime that has decided to hold on to power despite the overwhelming expression of popular will shown by the Venezuelan people on the 28th of July.
While Nicolas Maduro was declared victor last July, the result is rejected by the opposition and much of the international community. Maduro's government controls seemingly every aspect of the country. Some opposition factions, including Machado's, are using social media to urge people not to vote, arguing that casting their ballot legitimizes Maduro.
Rescuers in Gaza said at least 22 people were killed and dozens more wounded in Israeli airstrikes across the Palestinian territory on Sunday. 2 Red Cross workers were also killed in a strike on their home in Khan Yunis, according to the International Committee of the Red Cross.
The International Committee of the Red Cross, as well as family and friends, are mourning 2 Red Cross staff members killed in an Israeli airstrike on Khan Yunis in Gaza on Saturday. The humanitarian organization said their killing points to the intolerable civilian death toll in Gaza. The ICRC reiterates its urgent call for a ceasefire and for the respect and protection of civilians, including medical, humanitarian relief and civil defense personnel.
They were directly targeted in their little leisure time. They worked 16 hours a day and they didn't hesitate to serve people, and they were known by everyone as working for the Red Cross.
Meanwhile, the father of 9 children killed in Khan Yunis on Friday remains in intensive care. Hamdi al-Najjar was at home with his children when an Israeli airstrike occurred. An 11-year-old son survived and is also being treated in hospital. The Israeli military says it is reviewing the claim regarding uninvolved civilians.
The death, separation, destruction. I lived in my family's house. My whole life is gone. They wouldn't do to the targeted people what they did to Hamdi.
Still in Khan Yunis, these children are scraping whatever they can from empty pots, with the amount of aid allowed into Gaza grossly inadequate.
We have this man-made catastrophe.
The head of the UN's World Food Programme, Cindy McCain, says aid deliveries are only about 100 trucks daily since Israel eased a 2.5-month total blockade last week. McCain denies claims that Hamas has stolen food from looted aid vehicles.
These people are desperate, and they see a World Food Program truck coming in, and they run for it. This doesn't have anything to do with Hamas or any kind of organized crime or anything. It has simply to do with the fact these people are starving to death.
The World Food Programme is urging global diplomatic pressure to allow scaled-up aid to prevent further starvation.
Americans on Sunday mark 5 years since George Floyd was murdered by a police officer in Minneapolis as President Donald Trump backtracks on reforms designed to tackle racism.
I'll grab that.
5 years since those 3 words triggered a global rallying cry for racial equality and justice.
Stop moving.
The murder of George Floyd by police officer Derek Chauvin, who knelt on his neck for 9 minutes, led to some of the largest demonstrations ever seen. Black Lives Matter became one of the biggest protest movements in US history, and a long battle for police reform followed. But half a decade on, officials say Floyd's death is still an open wound in the US.
And so to say that nothing's changed is not true. But I have to give a little bit of deference to people who are not very encouraged by the rate of change, because the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act has not passed through Congress.
In March, crews removed the Black Lives Matter mural painted on a street leading to the White House in 2020 after a Republican lawmaker threatened to withhold millions of dollars in federal funds.
So I felt it was important to come down here and just see it one last time before it went away.
And just days before the 5-year anniversary, the US Justice Department dismissed police reform and oversight agreements in Minneapolis and Louisville. There are even fears the Trump administration could pardon the ex-officer who killed Floyd, currently serving more than 20 years in prison. But at the former crime scene, a 3-day festival for remembrance and solidarity. Many locals say lives were changed that day. And while state progress may lag, community spirit has not. They will commemorate Floyd's death with a concert, a self-care fair, a Sunday service, and more.
President Donald Trump rekindled his trade war with the European Union on Friday by threatening to impose 50% tariffs on imports from the EU starting on June 1st.
After weeks of de-escalation, the reprieve was only brief. US President Donald Trump renewed his trade threats on Friday, recommending a 50% tariff on goods from the European Union starting the 1st of June.
I'm not looking for a deal. I mean, we've set the deal. It's at 50%. They haven't treated us properly. They haven't treated our country properly. They banded together to take advantage of us.
Trump had announced a 20% tariff on EU goods last month, but suspended the measure to make way for negotiations. The US president, however, maintained a 10% on imports from the bloc, along with 25% on the car, steel and aluminium industries. If the new duties come into effect, it would mean dramatically hiking the current US baseline levy.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.sz. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
I know.
It's risky, but I've done it several times.
Guys, bafana bebola barong. Agiwa kakhona.
Machari yakhona basafaka snake okhofe babelele.
But my friends can go to hell.
To this day, I've never seen that man.
You don't know him like I do. I know it's petty.
I don't know what it is, but I can jump.
Well, okay, yes, I've seen handcuffs where they were not supposed to be.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sende ukukhicita lokusembili.
Asambege, the show that pushes local celebrities out of their comfort zones and into uncharted territories. Get ready to witness the ultimate clash of skills, the battle of the unknown, and the test of celebrity mettle. Can they cook up a storm in the kitchen? Can they hit the high notes on stage? We're taking them out of their element and throwing them into the deep end. Don't miss the fun, the drama, and the surprises. Asambege.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, to feel the rush of life overwhelm you, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. You ask, and we give you the royal experience. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. There are but a few places on earth so special, so unique, and so spectacular, where it becomes the rite of passage for the ambitious travelers, courageous souls, to all have the one and only royal experience. That day when you look deep into your heart and leap into an ancient world so very different from your own, where magic, beauty, and love are shared forever, then you will have a royal experience. There is just one place on earth where the people make you feel a part of their kingdom, where you just might volunteer to awaken spirits, enrich minds, and work alongside communities to build, motivate, and inspire. This is truly the royal experience.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Apologies for the interruption in our broadcast. We continue with international news. Iranian dissident filmmaker Jafar Panahi won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival on Saturday for "It was just an accident," using his acceptance speech to urge his country to unite for freedom.
Un simple accident de Jafar Panahi.
A dissident director at the pinnacle of cinema. Iranian filmmaker Jafar Panahi has won the Palme d'Or for a film he had to make in secret. He and his cast and crew shot "It Was Just an Accident" clandestinely in Iran, his home country, where his work is banned.
We're at this moment together when no one can tell us what to wear, what we have to say, what we're not allowed to do. Cinema's a society. No one has the right to tell us what to do and what not to do.
It Was Just an Accident follows a group of formerly jailed Iranians who seek revenge against the man they believe tortured them. It's partly inspired by the director's own experiences in prison and solitary confinement. Panahi has long been a thorn in the side of the Iranian powers that be. Though he's primarily a social rather than a political filmmaker, he's shone a light on aspects of Iranian society they would prefer to keep in the shadows. He's also supported mass anti-government protests and consistently spoken out against the oppression of women. This year was his first at an international festival in many years after a long-standing ban on leaving Iran was lifted. After the ceremony, he dedicated his Palme d'Or to other artists whose work is suppressed.
This isn't really for me. It's for all the filmmakers who can't work. But we hope that after this awards, they'll be able to find a way to make films.
The award will put more scrutiny than ever on Jafar Panahi, but he says he's not afraid to return to Iran.
And now we move on to our next story. Civilians begin to return to Omdurman after the army said on May 20th it had dislodged RSF rebels from their last positions in Omdurman.
Mounted on top of carts and trucks, residents of Omdurman's Salha neighborhood triumphantly raised their arms in the air. Visibly relieved, they were finally returning home after more than 2 years of war.
Since the army retook control of Salha, everything has become easier. In the past 2 days, we felt safer than ever before.
All across the city, soldiers and civilians celebrated the liberation of the greater Khartoum region from Rapid Support Forces fighters. After being driven out of the capital itself in March, the rebels retreated to Omdurman just across the Nile River before being defeated by a large-scale army operation on Tuesday. Since then, heavily armed soldiers have been patrolling the city streets, and despite widespread destruction, residents were finally able to look towards the future.
All these things can be fixed, but the most important thing is for life to return to normal and to stop the violence, the killings and the threats. Since the army returned, we've been sleeping peacefully and haven't heard a single gunshot.
Despite the army's recent string of victories on the battlefield, the war is far from over. RSF rebels still control most of western Sudan and have in recent weeks launched a series of drone strikes, including on Port Sudan, the government's temporary headquarters, which had until now largely remained untouched by the fighting.
The smallest country in South America, Suriname, votes in parliamentary elections on Sunday that will determine who will be in charge of harnessing its giant oil wealth to carry out a rags-to-riches transformation of the nation.
Suriname, South America's smallest country, is preparing for an influx of wealth spurred by planned exploitation of newly discovered offshore crude deposits. Beginning in 2028, French group Total Energy plans to extract as much as 220,000 barrels of crude oil per day, with Suriname poised to rake in about $10 billion in the next decade or two. The change in fortunes comes as Suriname battles high debt, rampant inflation, and poverty affecting nearly 1 in 5 of its 600,000 inhabitants. The country has created a sovereign wealth fund similar to Norway's in order to put money aside for tough times.
When you don't have money as a country, when you're bankrupted, you can have nice ideas, good plans, good programs, but you cannot implement it. We are now able and we do have the capacity to do more for our people so that everyone can be part of the growth of my nation.
President Chan Santokhi announced this week that royalties from fossil fuel extraction will also be distributed among the populace, with each Surinamese citizen receiving $750 in a cash grant. The elderly and disabled are already receiving payouts. The majority of the population will have to wait until the oil is sold, however, which is still years away. Santokhi's announcement came just days before Sunday's tight parliamentary elections, in which no party has a clear lead. The new parliament will in turn choose the next president, and Santokhi is seeking a second term. During his 5 years as president, Santokhi has come under fire for austerity measures and tax hikes implemented as part of restructuring required by the International Monetary Fund.
Leading Venezuelan opposition politician Juan Pablo was arrested on charges of conspiring to sabotage upcoming parliamentary and regional elections that the opposition has vowed to boycott. The arrest of Guanipa, a 60-year-old former MP and close ally of opposition leader Maria Corina, comes amid rising tensions ahead of Sunday's election.
Venezuela on Friday arrested well-known opposition figure Juan Pablo Guanipa for allegedly leading a terrorist plot. Officials accused Guanipa and the opposition of conspiring with countries such as the United States to commit terrorism, attack Venezuela's power grid, and sabotage Sunday's elections.
They swore that on the 26th or after the night of the 25th, we wouldn't be announcing governors. Instead, they denounced civil war in Venezuela.
Guanipa had been in hiding since last year's contested presidential election, which the opposition and much of the international community believe was stolen by President Nicolás Maduro. Guanipa is a close ally of the opposition's most recognizable figure, Maria Corina Machado, who remains in hiding to avoid arrest. She has urged an election boycott. Most other opposition leaders are either in exile or prison due to the government's repressive measures. After his arrest, Guanipa's allies released a pre-recorded message on social media.
Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep applying both internal and international pressure. I'm sure we will achieve political change in Venezuela. Let's never lose hope. Let's never lose our dream.
Venezuelan officials have linked Guanipa's arrest to what Maduro's authoritarian government has called a foiled terrorist plot to sabotage Sunday's gubernatorial and parliamentary elections. Officials said they have arrested 70 people, many of them foreign, and this week closed its border with Colombia, saying that mercenaries were coming from Venezuela's neighbor. Maduro has frequently claimed to be the target of coup plots backed by Colombia and the United States.
A French court convicted a gang of robbers who stole $10 million in jewelry from reality TV star Kim Kardashian in a Paris hotel in 2016, although they will not return to jail. Describing the heist as the most terrifying experience of my life, Kardashian swiftly expressed her gratitude to the French authorities for pursuing justice in the case.
It's been nearly a decade since Kim Kardashian was robbed at gunpoint in her Paris hotel room, with $10 million worth of jewelry stolen. But 9 years on, 8 out of the 10 defendants accused of carrying out the heist against the US reality star have been found guilty.
Mrs. Kardashian is now aware of the decision just rendered by the court. She wanted justice to be served. Justice has been served, it's now done. She can now move on with her life.
None of the defendants will face jail time, though. Nicknamed the Grandpa Robbers, with most being close to or of retirement age, their health issues weighed on the court's sentences, as well as due to time already served in pre-trial detention and the near decade that's passed since the incident. The 69-year-old ringleader, Elmar Ait Kerdash, got the stiffest sentence. 8 years imprisonment, but 5 of those suspended. A sentence his lawyer is happy with.
The verdict is really good for us, what we think, because it's 8 years with 5 years that he has already done and 3 years of probation. The client is relieved as well because it proves that justice can be served, but not with going to prison for big sentences.
Earlier this month in court, Kardashian recounted the heist that she said traumatized her. She said she worried she'd be raped when 2 masked gunmen in police uniforms burst into her hotel room and tied her up before leaving with her jewellery. In a post-verdict statement, Kardashian said she was deeply grateful to the French authorities for pursuing justice.
We've come to the end of international news. Thank you for staying with us. We go for an ad break. We return shortly.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba-researche, bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna senze ukukhicita lokusendlini.
Welcome to Eswatini Lifestyle. This is your ultimate guide to the entertainment, to the lifestyle and the culture of Eswatini.
Eswatini Lifestyle. Eswatini Lifestyle.
Eswatini Lifestyle.
From 6:30 to 7 p.m. On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back. It's 34 minutes after 7. The world is watching now. Since April 13, the Expo 2025 that has been underway in Osaka in Japan, welcoming, of course, millions to a 6-month global celebration of innovation, culture, as well as human progress. Now, among the 170 nations represented is the Kingdom of Eswatini, small in size, of course, but rich in heritage as well as ambition. And with the countdown now to Eswatini's National Day on June 3rd, our pavilion is already drawing a lot of attention in Japan from global investors, cultural enthusiasts, as well as curious visitors alike. Joining me live from Osaka is the woman that is steering Eswatini's presence at this global stage, Sebe Gininza, I beg your pardon. She's the stand manager for the Eswatini Pavilion at Expo 2025. Sebe, very good morning. A pleasure to have you on the program. I don't know what time it is in Japan, but you will tell us that. Just take us through what has been happening there since the 13th of April.
Good afternoon to Eswatini TV viewers. It's the afternoon here in Japan, and we have been here since the 13th of April when the Expo opened. As you can see behind me, we have a lot of visitors that have been coming through. To date, we have recorded, the Expo has recorded over 3 million visitors, and Eswatini Pavilion has seen over 200,000 visitors coming through to explore and to understand what Eswatini has to offer. So we are excited to be here. We are showcasing our tourism products. We're showcasing Eswatini as a preferred tourism destination and as a preferred investment and trade destination.
Sebe, I will allow you, since you know the camera is on me right now, I'll give you a moment to switch your camera and just walk us through without necessarily having to see your face. You can show us and pan through the whole pavilion as we saw there. Maybe start us from where it says Eswatini welcomes you and just give us the full tour, the full picture of what it is that you are showcasing. So if you will, just switch your camera to your back camera now and take us through what is happening there. We did see there's a lot of movement. We are seeing a lot of people walking through the hallways, but also we are seeing people enter our pavilion, and I think that is where a lot of our excitement is. So just take us through that now. What are we seeing? What are you showing them in terms of our heritage, our culture, as well as everything that you have displayed there?
Okay. As we are moving through, we have the entrance area where we welcome our visitors to the Kingdom of Eswatini Pavilion. We have multiple areas here within the pavilion. We have an area where we showcase Eswatini as a tourism destination through our promotional video. That also has interpretation in Japanese, particularly because a lot of the Japanese are not able to understand or read English. And we do have pictures of His Majesty, our King, Her Majesty Indlovukazi, and His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, to welcome our visitors to the pavilion. And as you can see, we are showcasing a lot of the products that are handmade in Eswatini. We have traditional ornaments that we do take our guests, our visitors, in terms of explaining where our origin is. We also have an area that talks specifically about Eswatini, because as you will recall, in 2018, Eswatini changed from Swaziland to Eswatini. So there is that importance of creating awareness on the name change. A lot of the visitors here are familiar with Swaziland, and so Eswatini is fairly a new country in terms of their understanding. We also do have an area where we showcase a lot of the ornaments made in Eswatini. We have Ngwenya glass here, we have Tinsaba craft, we have Swazi candles, and this creates a lot of excitement and interest from our visitors to the pavilion. One of the focus areas of the Expo this year is in terms of the sustainable development goals and progress from one country to another. So we do have a display that explains where Eswatini is in terms of the progress that we are making from all these different goals that we have under the SDGs. But I want to indicate to the viewers in Eswatini that a highlight to our pavilion is the Sibebe Rock, the second largest rock in the world. We have a lot of visitors. As you can see here, we have a youngster that do take images here from conquering our Sibebe Rock. So we do have a lot that we are showcasing And visitors are very excited about our history, about our heritage, about the advancements that we have made in the different sectors that we have in our economy, and the milestone the country has achieved. As you can see here, we have visitors that are admiring the different ornaments that we have. And a lot of information is generated and interest out of the different information sets that we have here.
I do also just want to get a sense of, the planned business seminar that is going to be just before National Day, I believe. Doing my research, I realized that you do have a very curated and strategic business seminar that you have planned just before National Day. If you will, just tell us who is coming or who do you want to come to that business seminar and what kind of partnerships do you want to forge, ones that you are really targeting?
Okay, the business seminar is one of the important events that we have here as Eswatini at the Expo. You will recall that the Expo has over 150 countries participating, and this gives us a large opportunity to be able to engage with the world at one area. So for the business forum, we have invited Japanese companies that will be engaging with Eswatini. We also have associations from the Japan side, but from other country pavilions. We have countries such as Saudi Arabia, Azerbaijan, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Angola, a different set of countries that will be participating at the Expo. And the focus of the Expo is that Eswatini is open for business from the different sectors that we have. So in terms of the delegation that we are expecting from Eswatini, it will be a delegation that covers the investment and trade sector, that covers the tourism sector. We have from sports and we have from innovation from RSTP. So we do have meetings that have been arranged and already secured. And the forum will take place in twofold. We'll have the seminar aspect of it, where there will be a panel discussion and where Japanese businesses can engage with the different ministerial officials that will be here, but also with Eswatini businesses that will be here. And then we will have a second session where there will be business to business and business to government, where we'll further discuss. And this also includes countries that we already have signed agreements in terms of memorandum of understandings to explore how we can further leverage in the different development areas the country has prioritized.
It's very interesting. I like what you plan to do in terms of attracting investment through conversation. And I wonder if you can just give us a behind the scenes of something that has happened that has been unexpected, something perhaps that has been inspiring or even humorous, if you like, that has happened since you arrived in Osaka. It's been a few days. It's been since the 13th of April.
Okay, one of the interesting moments we've had here at the pavilion particularly, we've had two visitors that have come in who are Japanese, who wrote a letter in Siswati to us to say that we are welcome in Japan. They love our country and they're excited that Eswatini is participating here. And what was interesting for us particularly was because it was well written in Siswati language and then further translated in the Asia region, who have come to give us a feedback, a positive response in terms of their experience in Eswatini, and have come to us for more information with the intention to visit again. So I think the highlight of us being here has been the warm welcome we've had, but also the positive feedback we are constantly getting in terms of the warmth and the environment Eswatini offers as a tourism destination.
Have you been able to track what it is that they are mostly drawn to, or they are drawn to different things? You know, I'm seeing that you have quite the display there in the pavilion, a lot of things to showcase. Is there one particular thing that they are all interested in? And perhaps, if you will, after answering this question, we can try something fun and try to talk to someone there and just, ask them a few questions around what they are seeing there, taking, of course, the note around the language barrier, but we hope that's not going to be a problem.
Okay, we will attempt to engage one of the visitors to give you an interview. What our visitors are particularly interested in, particularly from the Asia, is wildlife. Wildlife is top of the list in terms of what they would like to experience, but also they tend to be outdoor lovers. So hiking, any outdoor activity, even to the extent of a bit of adventure, water rafting, those are the activities they seem to be excited on. But the key takeaway they all have an interest in is the products that we have to offer in terms of the crafts. Gwenya Glass, we've actually had to make a request for an online platform from the different craft shops that we are displaying here on their behalf to say, please do have an online platform where the guests can be able to buy. So that is one key area that all of them have an interest on. And as you can see, all of them constantly make a stop over at this area and marvel at the different artworks that we have.
Maybe perhaps
Let me just try and see if I can get one of our visitors who can speak in English.
Yes, indeed.
To just share their experience here at the pavilion.
Perhaps let me prelude once again for our viewers what it is that they are currently experiencing on their TV screens. We have Sebe Gininza in Japan for Expo 2025. It started on the 13th of April and will be going on for a couple of months. We are showcasing Eswatini to the world there in Japan. Over 1 million people who get to enjoy and be intrigued by what it is that the Kingdom of Eswatini has to offer for them. Perhaps we should highlight that she has the assistance of Tandega Dlamini from Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, who is holding the roving camera. They will really appreciate what they are doing in terms of, taking us from the Kingdom of Eswatini right into the heart of Expo 2025. Well, what Sebe is trying to do right now is at least, getting an interaction with some of the visitors who are visiting our store to get a sort of an interview from the Japanese people themselves who are enjoying what we are offering there. And I want to believe that we do have somebody right now who they have found. So I'll give, the ropes back to them. And Sebe, have you found somebody?
Yes, we are exploring with one of the visitors here.
Okay.
He's just approaching me now. Yes,
Okay.
he's going to.
Good enough.
Yes.
I will ask that your camera person now has you in front of the camera. You'll just have the conversation with the person in front of the camera. It's all right, and they can hold the camera for you.
Okay. All right. So let me just try and change.
Yeah. It's Expo 2025. Eswatini is amongst many nations who are showcasing their products at a very intimate global level, where we hope we are going to be able to draw in a lot of tourism to the Kingdom of Eswatini. You will remember that we are approaching the Umhlanga sort of season, where we do see a lot of traction in terms of tourism boom in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And she did mention, Sebe, that a lot of these people are attracted to our culture, but also the preservation of our wildlife, which validates what our government has been doing with the big game park. So we are excited to see all of that come into what we can call a culmination of a tourism investment to the Kingdom of Eswatini. So let's go through our interview now. Sebe, what do you have for us?
I do have a guest here from Kosovo visiting us.
Okay.
Yes, visiting us at the pavilion, and he will be able to share his experience of what he's seen and what creates excitement for him.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah, excellent. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed, we can hear you.
Perfect. It's a very good and unique opportunity to visit Eswatini Pavilion, and I knew something for Eswatini, like I knew what is the flag of the country and some kind of geographical details, but I didn't really have the chance to see much from the country. So this is very, very, very useful to visit here. And I find some very interesting things in the pavilions.
Yeah, I hope, I do want to ask if you have interest, to come to Eswatini very soon, having seen what you have seen at the pavilion.
I will definitely, yes. Actually, being present here and knowing, seeing this kind of handcrafts, especially the crystals, what are present in the pavilion, and very colorful life of the jungle and I can see here rhinoceros and others, and especially I like the Eswatini national costumes. What I see from the pictures, and I really do hope that I will be able to visit someday.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for visiting our store. Hopefully, you will make time to indeed come to Eswatini as you promised. And hopefully, you come with your family and friends. Eswatini is indeed ready to welcome you. And you will certainly enjoy a warm stay in the kingdom of Eswatini. And also, we hope that you have bought some things there at the pavilion. That is our Expo 2025. Sebe, thank you so much. Thank you to Tandega as well for that snapshot of what has been happening. We hope everything that you're showcasing will bear the fruits that we want to enjoy in terms of tourism attraction to the kingdom of Eswatini. Let's go for a net break. We are going to be back shortly.
The beats are louder, the vibes are bigger, and the stars are shining brighter. This is The Beatdown, your ultimate music and entertainment fix. With me every Saturday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Welcome to Eswatini Lifestyle. This is your ultimate guide to the entertainment, to the lifestyle and the culture of Eswatini.
Eswatini Lifestyle.
Eswatini Lifestyle. Eswatini Lifestyle.
From 6:30 to 7 p.m. On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
On Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kumula.
Nathi kufuna senze ukukhiqiza lokusemndeni.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
KBS Sports Update. We did highlight when we started the show this morning that it's a brand new week, it's a brand new day, and we certainly have brand new winners for the MTN Premier League. Kusile, nawe Amncanyana. Congratulations to Nsingizini Hotspurs. We have Master Linda Dlamini, Studio Lotasi Chazela. He was there. He saw everything unfold. Begasi Panje, some of those updates. He saw everything, Master. Yeah, Kusile, it's it.
ngiyavusela kumbukelo weSwatini TV nakuSifiso ishiselo ithethe I was there itolo I was there when insingizini idlala ka first division when the first round carrot yehluleka kupronyotha ka Premier League I was there nabathenga status evovovo I was there nabawina iMomo Cup for the first time in 2023 I was there nabayi defender.
But I thought they were 2 years old. How old is Singizini Ganzi?
3 years nyalo.
3 years.
Yes.
But it is history to win. Okay. Keep going.
Yes, so donke letimvo leto Sifiso ngicaba ukuthi tikhuluma investment ebholeni uyendi nje ukuthi uyabhaza uphuma all out na uphuma all out the results besabonakala I think kuthi le league ihambe till the last day ukuthi decide ukuthi ngibani iwina ngicaba ukuthi lokho kuletha mhlambe kuba competitive kwayo le league because iRoyal Leopard nayo beyine chance itolo ukuyithatha ileague Sikizini beyine chance ukuyithatha ileague I think next season nje ngicabanga ukuthi kutaba into lenhle but sivumisele yona insingizini I think kunengi laba kwentile laba kwente kahle but they did it in style ku last day because kushaya 5 amagoli ngicabanga ukuthi nakhona lamagoli angene second half lo 5 kushintshe ku 0-0 everyone
so Royal Leopard beyisoli ibukela ithiyala nangasine chance
correct qala iRoyal Leopard emavuso nakusolo ku 0-0 ngala kaSomhlolo kunsingizini nesidwashini yakora iRoyal Leopard inqumbi yobamvu ku social media bese bakhuluma ukuthi Royal Leopard itendile imiracle ukuthi igcine ithatha le league but kuthi nangena ligole ekuqala
I think we have the visuals we're going to enjoy those visuals because we have to speak about something nembukeli la ibonako
the first goal under nolubuka liqhamuka ngale ngenhlangale and that late run la itholile khathe boxini ngicaba ukuthi ngiyo le bese seyehlisa konke
captain
no
he's wearing a belt
no bekalimele sorry bekalimelela sandleni bese sekubuyisa konke December kubo badlali bensingizini wangena masoso ingenele le game wangena president wayo director wayo insingizini Hotspurs Mr Shiba ngicabanga ukuthi naye because emaphaphu besaphakeme kakhulu ushito ke interview ukuthi vele investment yabo baqala balisa sporting director bahambisa coach wabamba sporting director in fact emalangeni lamabili letako batawu unveila coach lomusha lotako uqala nabo pre-season abaqala nabo.
Is that a good move?
A good move because vele bebete coach ngomane bekabambile yena kahle ngo sporting director he's there to guide kuletha lo mkhombandlela ukuthi le team mele ihambe kanje I think umumvulo wise lo njengangomane lona experience angeke interferishe nemsebenzi wa coach.
It's going to be interesting having seen that match master and we just look back at the season itself. I know parties, including yourself, there have been a lot of moments la khona nisite anigculiseki ngendlela tinto letenteka ngakhona ku league yethu but ngichazwa nginalo liveta namuhla lokuthi uyathi lokuthi ithathe egcineni singizini ikhombisa the competitive nature. Let's talk about the competitive nature lebe khona at the same time kube kunedinsaya letinengi. What do you want to see next season?
Next season ngifuna kubona iconsistency kuma teams kuma officials including the referees bo coach tonke letinvo leto kuma fans iconsistency letawufaka ukuthi ema fans angangena groundini nangabe khona lokwendeka groundini iconsistency kuma teams singawaboni nakule sikubonile this season kwenteka tindzaba mbaba leswalozi yathi yabangwa PTY LTD FC mbabana Highlanders aluthe sprinter wagodla bangaholeli badlali madlenya yastrugglisha because umphathi wawo emahole badlali eZulu United emahole badlali that inconsistency lesibonile this season asithingi kuyibona then lo competitive nature lokhuluma ngayo sikathile ukuthi ema teams bombabana Highlanders bombabana Swallows if Manzini Wanderers ibuya those three teams are competing Singizini Moneni Pirates Royal Leopard Young Buffaloes Green Mamba imagine 8 teams are compete la for league not to disrespect lalamanye but sikhuluma ngale big 8 lekhona la including the Malanti Chiefs 9, because Malanti Chiefs are first division. So I cannot wait if Lama teams are dealing with.
While our producers prepare that part of the visuals where we see the celebration and them lifting up the trophy, while they prepare that, I do want to hear ukuthi wena uthini ngenzaba yakho ukuthi most recently usibonile nakuswallows part of letinsaya tihlwele setisi at some point beyond 2000. Mbuto wami ke lana ula kuthenini siyafuna indlela ukuthi tihlwele tibe nemandla langaka. I've seen where ukuthi in local football ngathi tihlwele nje tisinathi decide on something kube ne movement lematima.
Yeah, kunemandla mhlambe ema-fans lawa wathola somehow lengathi sanikwa ngibani including nalaba labathi ma-elders noma ini tonke letinvo leto ngicabanga ukuthi ku-structure kukhona ukuthi i-chairman wama-supporters abe ne-say mhlambe nakhona kufika la kufike kugcine khona. Lama fans akhuluma naye bese sayahamba ke na uyokhuluma nabo baphathi be-team but ke sithola lana ema-fans in fact social media usebenziseka kabi because tinvo tingahamba la ku-social media tingakhulunywa la ku-social media bantu bese bathatha tiba seriously tinvo leto bahamba bacabanga ukuthi tingito ngicabanga ukuthi ngiko lokubulele mhlambe tinvo kakhulu.
Let's see Msingizini Hotspurs lifting up the trophy one last time. It has been their weekend, it has been their moment. There they are, a beautiful moment of celebration. Congratulations to them. That is the end of the MTN Premier League Eswatini this year. It's 8 a.m. Thank you so much for staying with us. This has been Kusile Breakfast Show Monday. Bye-bye.